Back in junior high, at the start of 7th and 8th grade year, our PE teachers would have these annual races. They would have the mile run, which we all know what that's like. We would have to run a 100 and 200 meter dash, and sometimes, if we were on our best behavior, we could even come up with our own teams and participate in a relay. This was basically a chance for us to see if we would improve in our times from the beginning to the end of the year. While through these races, one of my PE teachers noticed that I was pretty fast, something I didn't realize, so she recruited me to run on her track team. I showed up to the practices, did all the drills, and before I knew it, it was go time. We had track meets every week, and almost every race, I won. The 100 meter dash, 200 meter dash, 4x100 meter relay. I even ran the hurdles and rocked at that too. Every week, I was on the school morning announcements about all the races I had won and how I helped take the school to victory. I was even given the name The Flash, and I became the fastest girl in the school. To be honest, I was not mad about it. Fast forward to high school, I took a couple years off track and everyone was telling me I needed to be on the high school track team. I had a gift, the team could really use me, and there was this one girl who joined that if we ran together, we could win everything. Well, after some time of people pulling my leg to join, I decided I would. But it wasn't exactly for the right reasons. I wasn't too happy to hear that there was another person deemed to be the fastest girl in school. So I joined because I wanted to beat her, and a lot of people believed I could too. The day track season started, we all had to line up and race for the spot that we wanted. Well, somehow, this girl and I were signed up for the exact same races. Go figure. Before I knew it, the time came for us to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe. The time was here to see who was the fastest. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, tons of people at our school showed up to this first day of track just to see me own this chick in these races. We all knew I was going to crush it. Some people even bet money on who would win. It was pretty crazy. Well, the coaches told us to take our marks, so we got ready, we stretched, we jumped in place like you see in the Olympics, and kneeled down at the starting line. Then the coaches shouted, "Get set!" So we hiked into the starter's position, and the gun went off. From the beginning, I was the quickest out of the blocks, the starting line. I was cruising down my lane, and I thought, I got this, no problem. Your girl is gonna win! Yeah, well, you guys know what happens next. All of a sudden, to my left in my peripheral, I saw this tall, blonde gazelle just inching past me, and that inch became a foot. That foot became 3 feet, and this girl just jogged through the finish line. She could have been eating a burger and stopped to tie her shoe and would have still obliterated me. I got owned, guys. I was crushed. And I think it had everything to do with my own pride. Talk about a humbling experience. Today we're finishing up our series, Crushing It, and we're talking specifically about how we can crush life with humility. But before we can jump into that, it's important we understand what pride is first. The dictionary says that pride is this excessively high opinion of oneself or one's importance. In other words, pride is that really ugly part of us that wants to look good and then look down on others. Pride is where you're so self-absorbed that you think of others less and you think of yourself most. If we're honest, most of us have dealt with pride once or twice in our lives. And maybe for some of you, you deal with pride every day. Talk about convictions. Because I got issues, and you got them too. With pride, there's a high chance that most of us don't know we have it or can even see it. It's a natural result of us focusing on ourselves. It's easy to see when others are being prideful, and it's hard to see it in ourselves. Seriously, do you ever see pride in some professional athletes, singers, actors, maybe even your own friends? Yeah, some of these individuals are so caught up in their own lives that pride just oozes from them. It's easy to see pride in others. But now let me ask you this, and be honest. What about yourself? Do you see yourself as someone prideful? Someone who flaunts how good you are on your teams, or bragging about all that you have in life, making it known to everyone about how many likes you got from the last photo you posted, boasting about how much money you have. Or what about this? Do you ever get jealous at what others have to offer and you let your pride get in the way of a gift God gave someone else? We all deal with pride at some point in our lives, but what matters is how we choose to deal and live with it. I mean, have you ever thought of the consequences of pride? If no one likes your post or if no one views your story, does that mean you're not cool? No. Take a chill pill and have a piece of humble pie. Or what about this? You decide to help a friend out and study for a major test. They take that test and they aced it. Was that because of you? No. Get off your high horse and have another piece of humble pie. When we're living out with pride, we are closer to living like fools and clowns rather than real life people. Last time I checked, the world doesn't exactly revolve around you. And when you walk around thinking as though it does, you're going to let yourself down. Guys, pride is one of the most effective and destructive tools. Pride is something that can easily crush you. Proverbs 18:12 says this, "Pride comes first, then the crash, but humility is the precursor to honor." Pride comes first, then the crash. That's basically saying those that think so highly of their self will bring destruction. I don't know about you guys, but I surely don't want to experience a crash from pride where everyone turns away from me and my life spirals out of control. No way. Again, pride is where you're so self-absorbed that you think of others less and you think of yourself most. The verse goes on to tell us about humility, and humility is where you view yourself as not the most important person in the world. It's where you think of yourself less and others most. The verse goes on to say, humility is the precursor to honor. And that's just saying when you are humble, you receive recognition, love, and honor from most people. So what does that look like? Here's a couple examples what humility looks like. Humility is when the star of the team could score or do something to make the team win, but the star chooses to include team members rather than taking matters into their own hands, and the star allows everyone else an opportunity to shine. Humility is cleaning the school bathroom even when you had nothing to do with messing it up. Humility is about thinking of others most, and it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Some of you might be like, okay, I get it, but how do we become humble? How do you have humility? Well, I tell you what, it doesn't just happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen in a moment. You can't just download humility, even though that'd be pretty great. First, you need a clear picture of what humility looks like. Who in your life demonstrates that? What are some things you could do in your life and in the life of others to demonstrate humility like we've been talking about? Maybe some friends, family members, or a coach is coming to mind about humility, and that's awesome. Let me share with you guys someone who comes to mind regarding humility. This king, the king of the universe, came to us, born in a stinky horse stable rather than the fancy schmancy palace he deserved. That's humility. During his short time here on earth, he spent a ton of time with people who were poor, sick, disabled, when he could have hung out with the popular, powerful, cool, or hip people. That's humility. Rather than bragging about his own godness, flaunting his status as all-important creator and Lord over all, Jesus' heart and mind was fixed on you. That is humility. Jesus spends his last moments on earth in excruciating and agonizing pain, dying a death meant for criminals, even though he was perfect. And he did all of this so that you and I wouldn't have to. That's humility. The more you surround yourself with people who live out humility, the more you will want to be humble. Trust me. From there, it's all your decision. You just have to decide to be humble and take advantage of those opportunities that are uniquely yours to lift others up. Students, at the end of the day, when it comes to pride, it really does crush us. You guys know it. You all see it. When someone has pride issues, you don't exactly want to be around them. It's hard to trust, and it's hard to be friends with those that have pride issues. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be the person who no one wants to be friends with because of pride. And I don't think you want that either. The Bible says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to your own interest, but also to the interest of others." There is no greater example than the humility of Jesus. He came to earth to serve, not to be served. In order for us to have a mind like Christ, to humble ourselves, We have to strive to think like Jesus, and his values and attitudes have to become ours. We've got to want to be like him and desire humility for ourselves. If we want this to regularly happen, we have to pray for Christ to change our hearts, because doing that on our own is impossible. This book of Proverbs that we have been reading through these past few weeks is all about wisdom, and Jesus is wisdom. Remember, when we read the Proverbs, we are reading the wisdom of Jesus himself, and that's pretty cool. 7th and 8th graders, it's no mystery that if we live this out, you will crush it in life. Solomon was so clear. Pride leads to crushes, so let's strive for humility, to think of ourselves less and others more. A wise person once said, "God created all things out of nothing. As long as you remain nothing, God can make something out of you."